Hi everyone, my name is Terra Baughman and I'm going to be discussing intercultural competence in teacher education. Before I begin, my reasoning for picking this topic is because I read an article about this before. I found it really interesting how much of an impact teachers can have on their students. I have also personally experienced many white, uneducated teachers not knowing how to handle student conflict involving race, and they typically brush off the student of color's worries. This discussion is further explained in my presentation. So what is intercultural competence? Intercultural competence is a skill that has many layers to it. Individuals or organizations should effectively incorporate intercultural competence to interact and communicate with people from different cultures who work for them. This skill involves understanding, respecting, and valuing the beliefs, customs, languages, traditions, and practices of diverse groups. Cultural competence also includes a level of self-awareness where you can recognize your own cultural background and biases to avoid misunderstandings and conflicts when communicating with individuals from different cultural backgrounds. So, in Chapter 17, it discusses how intercultural competence in teacher education is an essential skill to possess in classrooms today. It enables interpersonal skills such as respecting, effectively communicating, and understanding the differences among students from different cultural backgrounds. Teachers can create more inclusive learning environments with these skills and are more prepared or better equipped to do so. The chapter continues on how teachers should be trained in managing conflicts that may arise due to cultural misunderstandings or differences. Many students of color have reported feeling unseen or ignored when they bring racial conflicts to a teacher's attention. The chapter states, when students did speak out, teachers often viewed this as insubordinate, disrespectful, or defiant behavior. Many students of color, it was reported, are simply not willing to passively submit to the demands of teachers for immediate and unquestioning compliance in conflict situations, especially if they feel they are treated unfairly and denied the opportunity to defend themselves. Developing skills in conflict resolution can help maintain a positive classroom climate and make students of color feel seen and valued. Teachers need to be sensitive to cultural norms, values, and practices of their students. Respecting and valuing cultural diversity in the classroom is crucial for creating a safe, inclusive learning environment. They need to be able to truly listen to what their students of color are telling them and know how to handle the situation. The bully at fault should also be met with the right consequences for their actions. In many schools, racism and prejudice is unfortunately overlooked, and we as a society can do so much more to protect our children. Here are some strategies for developing intercultural competence in teacher education. First is coursework. Teaching culturally relevant subjects and including coursework focused on intercultural communication and understanding is so important to get into children's minds. Including these into teacher education programs can help students develop the necessary skills and knowledge to work effectively with students from different backgrounds. Many students grow up without being exposed to other cultures outside their own, and the classroom may be their first exposure to a person of color. We need to make sure that students don't view other cultural practices as weird, but more so be accepting of it from being different than their own. Providing culturally inclusive content will expose students at a young age and teach them that people who look or act differently than them or their families are completely okay and normal. Teaching this at a young age is so important because trying to reverse the effects of what a child was taught and grew up with is so much harder than just teaching them the right thing to begin with. The second is self-reflection. Promoting self-reflection among educators can help them become more aware of their own cultural perspectives and biases in the classroom that could cross over to their teachings. Enabling them to better understand and appreciate those from different cultures can create students to feel welcomed in the classroom. Creating a critical thinking environment open for discussion and empathy in students can also lead to deeper understanding and connection between students. Students who engage in group discussions and a judgment-free question zone are so much more likely to be open-minded and willing to learn. Having children or students be able to communicate with other students from different backgrounds may be most beneficial since children tend to listen to their peers better. Third is contribution. Reducing prejudice, discrimination, and bullying in schools specifically aimed towards students from different cultures is another step in the right direction to creating culturally inclusive classrooms. Teachers being able to recognize and step in when they see this occurring is so important in developing our young students' minds. Finally, field experience. Providing opportunities for teachers to engage in field experiences in different countries and cultures can help them gain hands-on real experience working with individuals from different backgrounds. Visiting different cultures and being exposed to different traditions can open up an individual's mind so much. Seeing it in person is so much different than just hearing about it. In my personal experience, teachers who have experience visiting countries outside their own tend to be the most caring, supportive, and understanding teachers I've had. Not to mention fun, because they love incorporating fun aspects into their teaching. Now on to the data. 41% of U.S. states require teacher education programs to have a diversity component. However, fewer than one-third of states in the United States had teacher certification requirements necessitating training in diversity. The standards clearly point to the necessity for interculturally skilled teachers, yet researchers have argued that none of these standards is extensive enough to ensure that teachers will, in fact, be competent to meet the needs of students from culturally diverse backgrounds. This demonstrates that teacher education and cultural competence is not as enforced as it should be. Less than half the U.S. states require teachers to have previous knowledge and intercultural competence and understand how to engage with students from diverse backgrounds. Then, only one-third of the states require some sort of certification in diversity training. More than two-thirds of schools do not have their teachers certified in any sort of diversity education, which is truly terrifying. I believe that more states should have, at the very minimum, the base level training for how to have safe, inclusive teaching environments, and especially how to handle student conflict that involves race or cultural backgrounds. In conclusion, intercultural competence in teacher education is a very important step in preparing educators to effectively engage with diverse student populations in today's multicultural societies. As these programs develop, students can use these resources to better understand cultural differences, communicate effectively with diverse students, and create inclusive learning environments. These environments encourage and support the academic and social knowledge of all students. Incorporating these aspects into teacher education programs is essential for preparing teachers to thrive in diverse educational settings. It provides them the opportunity to instill equitable outcomes for students at a young age. By spreading cultural awareness, knowledge, skills, and sensitivity, we create environments and communities that want to come together and make big changes in the world. As schools become more inclusive, that brings celebration and appreciation of diversity, which only empowers students to succeed in an interconnected world.